His grandfather started with a jewelry shop in Delhi's Connaught Place. But today, Sunjay Kapur runs a massive automotive parts business with factories in India, China, Mexico, Serbia, and the US. This is the story of Sona Comstar, an automotive manufacturing company that has constantly leveled up since the 90s. Let's watch Sunjay Kapur, the chairman of Sona Comstar, chat with our students and tell them the secret of always being ahead in the game. We hope you enjoy this interaction and stay tuned right till the end.
So it's my honor today to introduce Mr. Sunjay Kapur, a beacon of excellence in the automotive industry with 2 decades of experience. And Sanjay here has a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Buckingham and has also done a business program from the Harvard Business School. And he is the chairman of Sona Comstar, a global leader in the auto components manufacturer space. And he's also renowned for being on the board of a lot of government associations and institutions, which I won't name because it'll take a lot of time. But he's also on the board of governors of the Doon School. And he was also elected as the global chairman of the entrepreneurship organization. And he was the first and the only Indian to be elected. So that's a very proud moment for us as well. So as such, just to give a brief intro, all of us belong to the automotive space from our family business background, or we are people who are very passionate about this space. And we are more than happy and eager to have you here today. So welcome to Masters Union.
Thank you.
To start off things, to set the context, I wanted to know from you, how do you see the automotive component industry evolve in the last 2 decades, from the time Mr. Surinder ji started it off, and what is the recent one big change that you have seen in the last few years?
Okay. So good question. So the automotive industry has become extremely disruptive. In the last decade or so, we've seen a lot of change in terms of what the vehicle is being used for and what type of vehicle people are demanding, and not just people, but even regulation has kicked in a sense that has forced vehicle manufacturers to look at the automotive industry very differently from the past. If you ask me what's the biggest change, I would say if I look at my own business, we have 120 software engineers today employed in our business, which we wouldn't have had 2 years ago because we're a pure play automotive business. Other than that, I think what's also changed is today the automotive business is the mobility business. So we're not limited to automotive alone. You're not limited to, supplying into passenger vehicles or commercial vehicles off highway. Mobility as a business, whether it be bots or be robotic arms or it be drones. I won't go as far as saying aerospace, but that is another avenue. Railway is another avenue for expansion. So there's a lot of opportunities that have come in the automotive industry. Further to that, the industry has also seen opportunities in the ecosystem. So if you look at autonomous and you look at connectivity, you look at shared mobility, you look at electrification. We look at electrification, there's battery opportunities, there's charging infrastructure opportunities. So the opportunities are huge in terms of what's happened. There's a paradigm shift that's occurred in the automotive industry, or what I like to now call as the mobility industry. With the challenges, there have been several opportunities. Whilst people have spoken about the fact that going electric is a challenge, will the component manufacturers lose out? Will there be fewer components in electric vehicles? Whilst that may happen, the content of software is going to increase drastically. And the ecosystem is going to change drastically. So the opportunities lie there as well. So I would say that this is a great opportunity for companies that are going to and willing to invest in technology to ride this wave. And I'll just add one last point to this. Even from a talent perspective, the kind of talent that we can recruit today has drastically changed. So when I entered the industry, back in the late 90s, it was the end of us recruiting the graduates from IIT or MIT. Today, we're seeing that happen again. We're seeing we can go out and tap into that resource pool because of the fact that the industry has changed so drastically and become so much more attractive, for talent.
So Sanjay, I would like to understand your perspective on the manufacturing space as a whole. So we understand from the last couple of years that it's a quite boom in the space, right? everybody's talking about capital goods and manufacturing as a sector, and would love to understand your thoughts as to, is this going to be a major boom in the coming markets in the coming years, and especially talking about Indian markets where we are seeing a larger share of the pie coming from domestic, and slowly and gradually, like we see in Sona Comstar, that export share is also growing. What is your thought on this space?
So, look, the manufacturing space is something that if we don't leverage, we will miss this opportunity. So, if you look what's happening in the China Plus One strategy in terms of all additional investments coming to India, that's a great opportunity for the Indian manufacturing industry. However, the Indian manufacturing industry or private sector has to invest in technology. If we don't invest in technology, we will miss this wave or this opportunity. So I see that we can create a global hub for manufacturing. And I recently hosted the EU-India Business and Sustainability Conclave for CII, and we saw a lot of interest from European companies in terms of moving manufacturing to India as an additional base. We saw a lot of interest in exports out of India. Not just that, but in the automotive industry, even if you look at ACMA, we've been working with international purchase offices from across the globe in terms of tier 1 and OEMs to source from India. So again, the manufacturing opportunity is great. The manufacturing opportunity is definitely seeing a lot of benefits from the China Plus One strategy. And I feel that companies need to invest in technology to really leverage the true opportunity. We're sitting at about 15% GDP. We want to go to 25% GDP. And to do that, we need to invest in technology. We do need to invest in equipment. Not just that. I mean, the fact is that today, even capital equipment has a great opportunity here in India, to build capital equipment. So I think the opportunity is great in my mind.
Sanjay, I have a question. Basically, you said we have about 120 software engineers already. And in this industry that is evolving so fast, how do you hire the correct talent and how do you then retain them? Because that is a challenge that most industries are still facing.
So, retention is really, if we look at our own business, we've got a lot of people on the ESOP program, which again has been talked about in the automotive industry, but never been implemented. We've actually implemented. I've got 100 people who are on the ESOP program. So their interests are aligned with the interests of the organization, with the interests of the shareholder, with the interests of the organization doing well, developing technology. And in terms of recruitment, what we do is really, we do a lot of R&D. If you look at our average spend, it's 3.5% to 4%. In 2 years ago, it was 6% of revenue. So the fact is that we're spending money on R&D. Our average in our industry is only 0.5%, going up to 1% today in the Indian industry. But in the global context, that's a very, very small spend. And companies need to, and this is to my point again, in investing in technologies, companies need to up that spend. And once you do that, and you're investing in technology, you're able to recruit. So I'll give you an example. We built an active suspension motor, for a customer, which allows the suspension to change the ride handling based on the curvature of the road. Now we've developed that in-house, right? So the controller needs a lot of software. The controller needs to talk to the motors, and the motors need to sort of then kick in to adjust themselves automatically. So therefore, when we go out to build that product, you go out there and recruit the right sort of talent. And once we recruit the right talent, the more interesting projects we do, the more interested people stay and remain in the business. And we continuously are investing in technology because we have positioned ourselves as a technology company. We understand that the industry is moving in that direction. The industry is moving in a direction where technology is going to play a very big role. We've gone away from build to print. Frankly, even in India, what happened when the automotive industry started in the late 80s and the early 90s, when Suzuki came in or Maruti Suzuki came in, it was all build to print. Today, we're designing from black box and we're designing for global customers. So you need to look at it from that aspect. Today, a customer will come to us and tell us what the end requirement is, what the packaging space is, and then we'll go out and build the product for them. And to do that, We need phenomenal capabilities in-house. And it's exciting stuff. It's really, the automotive industry has become extremely exciting today. You can compare it to fintech in a sense of disruption.
So basically, we give them a challenge, we give them a skin in the game, and they perform.
So I think it's more about sort of the challenge, right? A stake in the outcome is definitely a positive, and a stake in the outcome is definitely something that people look forward to. And I feel the companies now need to look at themselves, from that aspect. And if you look at our business, we have professionalized the business in the true sense. It doesn't mean that I have a CEO, but I'm responsible and I'm accountable, but the CEO is just there. The CEO is accountable, and that's how we've professionalized our business. And therefore, he or she has a stake in the outcome. And that's really what's important.
How you guys achieve Six Sigma quality at this scale?
So, quality is something that our business was built on, the foundation of quality. We won the Deming Quality Prize back in the 90s, or early 2000s. I think maybe 2000, late 90s, early 2000. And the fact is that, if you don't have quality, there's no competitiveness that you can have. And therefore, quality is like a hygiene factor today. It's a given. And it's a continuous process. We're very, very clear on the fact that all our investments go into equipment, go into R&D, and go into testing and quality. So we have a strong quality focus, and businesses that want to supply to the global automotive, OEMs need to demonstrate, great quality and what you call first time right. So we've invested in quality right from day one. I remember when my father started the business, his vision was to become a world-class quality company. And a lot has changed since then because we achieve quality standards and we've been able to retain them and hold on to them.
So I have a question. So the merger with Blackstone, was it a strategic merger? And what were the limitations of Sona Comstar back then? And how did they actually bridge it?
So Blackstone is a private equity investor, and they bought stake into our business. And we've then merged with a company that they had bought, Comstar. And that's how the brand Sona Comstar came about. So what happened was in 2019, Blackstone came in as an investor. We had a private equity investor by the name of GM Finance in our business, and they'd been in our business for about 10 years. And they were ready to exit, and we were not ready to IPO at the time. So we sold their stake to Blackstone. And then Blackstone had bought Comstar, which was a starter motor business, typically supplying into the ICE business, which we've then since then converted into a traction motor business, which supplies into the electric vehicle business. And so what we did was we bought Comstar from Blackstone, and by virtue of that, they owned 65% of our business, and I owned 35% of the business. Today, I own 30% of the business, and 70% is owned by the public. So what Blackstone did, Blackstone is, I'd say, possibly the best private equity business that there is. I was actually at HPS, and I was asked this question. You went with Blackstone, and they're the sharks. I said, I'd rather swim with the sharks than the goldfish. That's who you want to swim with, because you want to be with that kind of investment company that will really create value. And what Blackstone brought to the business was a great amount of financial discipline, financial acumen, good experience in terms of M&A, good understanding, and we got good understanding of how to manage the business from a financial aspect. Whilst we have always had the technology and been able to tap into the right customer base, Blackstone brought us, some great financial tools that allowed us to, create a very strong synergy. And by virtue of that, we've been able to have a successful IPO and continue to build the business successfully.
On that note, Sanjay, for any manufacturing business, there are always three strategic choices: build, buy, or ally. And if you've seen, Sona Comstar as a group has actually done all the three over the years with multiple entities like BLW or Comstar or even Mitsubishi in the start. So Out of these three choices, which one has helped Sona the most and how?
So I think build. Build is something that, we've been able to control. When you do acquisitions, it's not always true that you will succeed. In fact, data shows you that most acquisitions fail, and yet people go out and do acquisitions. And, I often sort of question, if somebody else can't fix a problem, why do you think you can fix a problem that you don't even know? So I feel that, whilst when we do acquisitions, we're very conscious of the fact that we leave the management as is. If we do an acquisition, which in fact we have done in Serbia, where we acquired a company that does sensors through millimeter wave radar technology, what we did was leave the founders in there. The founders still own, a significant part of the business, and we own a majority of the business, and we continue to run it together. And I think the partnership model in that is something that has been successful for us. Building businesses has always been more successful for us from our own experience. And different people have different experiences, but from our own experience. And when you look at alignment or you talk about joint ventures, etc., I personally feel joint ventures can be very restrictive in their nature because they restrict you to a market. If you look at the way we started businesses back in the late 80s, in the early 90s, the way the auto component industry evolved, they evolved with joint ventures. Joint ventures because we needed technology. And I feel that a joint venture is great when you need the technology, but the aim of a joint venture should be for you to learn the technology and then go it on your own. And often that doesn't happen. And we've seen that in the Indian context where people have been in joint ventures for years and years, for decades, and not been able to sort of absorb that technology and then sort of branch out on their own. So for me personally, when you talk about alignment or partnership, I feel that partnership should be done for the right reasons. We may partner with a certain company for a certain product. We may not necessarily get into a joint venture agreement on a company-wide basis. Because again, our market size is not India, but our market size is the world. When I look at, the fact that we control close to 10% of the bevel gear market, it's not the 10% of India, but it's of the world. And if you can't talk about a global market, then really, what kind of sort of business are you building? And the aspiration should be to build a business that, you can talk about from a global perspective.
Okay.
I don't know if I hope that answers your question.
What's the future of IC engines?
So I think there will be a lot of sort of experimentation when it comes to alternate fuels. And I think companies will definitely consider alternate fuels, and therefore, I don't think ICE engine will go away tomorrow morning. I think that, for when it comes to electrification, buses, two-wheelers and three-wheelers in the Indian context, passenger car globally, we will see more electrification. And I'm pretty certain that electrification will be the primary driver going forward. Yes, we need to go to green energy. There's no doubt about it. And I think more companies and countries really are looking at how to address that challenge or address that opportunity. I feel that, trucks may go hydrogen. There is an opportunity there. So it's going to be a mixed bag, and I think we're just at that nascent stage where we're exploring technologies, where we're exploring alternate fuel, we're exploring, biofuel, etc., hydrogen. So I think, it's an evolution process. I do see a lot of signs that tell me we're going electric. At the same time, we're hearing a lot about or reading a lot about hybrid. Again, this is because of range anxiety more than anything else. And you'll all relate to the fact that, when you leave home with 100% battery on your mobile phone, and by midday it's 50%, you've already got anxiety. You're anxious about the fact that, when am I going to get to a charger? So you can imagine what it's like to drive a car and have that anxiety. But as infrastructure builds out and as charging infrastructure builds out, we'll be able to overcome that challenge of range anxiety. And I feel that, EV is the way to go.
Since we're talking about technology, Could you help us understand how AI has paved its way in the EV component manufacturing space? And especially if you are using some practices in-house to improve efficiency, productivity, you can give some examples of that.
So, we use AI just to capture a lot of data and then look at what we can do with that data to improve manufacturing process. Just to your point, whether we need to reduce cycle time or we need to, realign machines, etc., equipment, we use a lot of that data. The big challenge in AI is how do we use that data? That's really going to become the big challenge because you're capturing a lot of data. And we've been doing that for years. But now suddenly we have that opportunity to now use that data. So I think the big challenge is going to be how a company is going to really use that data. So if you look at AI, there's strong AI and weak AI, and strong AI is just something that, human beings cannot do. And if you take another example from a completely different industry, if you look at the dental industry, right, it's not as regulated as other, medical industries. And therefore, a lot of the data that's being captured is allowing dentists to make decisions with what they should do with their patient. So, that's a use of AI. Because again, in dentistry also, there's a lot of sort of disparity in terms of what one dentist is saying to another. But if you go back to our own industry, which is the automotive industry, if you look at simple things like end control, quality control at the end of the line, all that can be managed through AI. Whereas what happens is AI learns very quickly, what the defect may be, and then identifies that defect so that, you're able to replace people. And I don't mean replace people in that sense that you get rid of people, but you can redeploy people for more, for different tasks, for tasks where they're required. So, it's an evolution. I think, whilst AI has been around for years, and it's not just come around. I mean, AI has been around from the 60s or the 50s. We're just using AI in a very much different way today. And that's really what's helping industry. I feel one of the other big challenges in AI is regulation. Whilst Europe has been able to regulate AI to some degree, I think regulation is something that we need to look at because, again, are you using AI, for your benefit, or are you using it in the wrong way? And I think regulation will have to kick in. And, this is, again, an evolution process because, again, we're at the very beginning stages of what truly AI can do.
So there are people in manufacturing sector who have reached a saturation point, like for example, they have 100 crores sale or 200 crores sale. So, and they still have financial backing, but they're unaware. So in order to grow or to break the ground, so what are the things that they can do? Is it strategic mergers or is it acquisitions? What is the way that they can go forward and how can they be more aware if they have the financial power?
So I think, I always say that a CEO should spend 60% of his time outside the business so that you know what's going on. I mean, if you look at our business, we're continuously developing new products because we're in the know of what's happening globally. And if you have the ability to understand trends and you have the ability to, to understand where the customer or where the customer is going and what product you can, supply or where you can play a role, I don't feel you'll ever face that challenge. So I think, it's about investing in technology, knowing what is going on out there in terms of trends, and not just the mega trends, but what's happening in that space. So if you look at automotive per se, the opportunities are huge. You're aware of what the opportunities are. Are you willing to put the money in to make that investment? Are you willing to put the money in and fail, and learn from that failure? And one of the key, I feel, successes of our R&D program has been we've allowed people to fail, and we've built products which have never sold, and we've spent money on them, but we've learned through that process and then, develop more products. So I don't feel that companies can reach a saturation point. That just means you're not thinking enough, and you're not applying your mind to sort of, in the right direction in terms of where growth opportunities, because growth opportunities are immense.
I have a question here. So from a global perspective, when we talk about, let's say, mergers, acquisition, or any strategic partnership, what are the key elements that you are looking for? Is it the leadership, the tech they bring, or the talent pool that they bring in?
I feel culture, culture is a big plays a big role. I feel a synergy between organizations. So I don't feel that you can really take one culture, another culture, and merge them and make one big culture. So, when we look at an acquisition, we'll spend time with the founder. We'll try and understand if the founder and us can find alignment. So the right word to use is alignment. Do we have alignment, with the company that we're going in to acquire or going in to partner with, etc. In anything you do, whether it's in a joint venture or it's a merger or it's, recruitment of people, in any kind of partnership, you need alignment. And I think alignment is so important, and that's really what we look for. I mean, I won't name names, but we've sort of been in situations where we've evaluated a business, we felt the business was phenomenal, we felt the business was a great synergy with us, but we didn't have alignment with the founder. And we are not here to run somebody else's business. So when you're looking at a merger, you're saying, okay, how can we find alignment with that founder and build a synergistic business, and grow that business? And when you don't find alignment, I think it becomes very difficult. And I think companies can fail. So you've got to run after the right thing, or you've got to sort of pick the right the right mix.
But it's still a leap of faith. You do your due diligence, but
it's definitely a leap of faith in everything. But you have that, after doing enough, you have that instinct that this is something that's going to work, and you could go wrong. Don't get me wrong. And things could go wrong. I'll give you an example of Uniqlo. Uniqlo, the brand, he had 9 failures before he had a success. So, it's not that people don't fail. Of course you do. But, you've got to have some kind of benchmark that you're going in with. And for us, alignment is extremely important.
So I actually come from South India, from Chennai, and come from a family background of automotive distribution in South India. And I'm extremely passionate about this space. I wanted to build in this space as well, and I'm an aspiring entrepreneur as well. But I am a non-engineer and a non-tech. So I wanted to get some pointers from you as someone who's a budding entrepreneur and who wants to build in this space. How and where can I start from?
So distribution of what?
Of two-wheelers, of cars. We have distribution of Hero.
So you have like dealerships?
Yes, yeah.
And what if dealerships were to go out of business?
Exactly.
Because, is that your fear?
No, I mean, like, that is definitely one part of it. That won't happen because the companies that we have distributorship of are global leaders. I mean, Hero, Honda, Bajaj, Suzuki.
So my sense is that eventually the middleman will go away, because it's, and in India it may take a little longer. I mean, don't know. I mean, in the last few years, any car that I bought, I haven't test driven. Okay, I've literally called up the dealership, and said, send me this car, or this is the car I want to buy, and end of story. Because today you have enough reviews, you have enough, information and data, and enough experience to know what's a good car and what's not, or good vehicle to buy. So I feel if, you're sitting on a great opportunity in terms of digitalization, and again, this is a great advantage of India. The way that we've been able to digitalize, I mean, our India stack is something that, that is phenomenal, and you can talk for hours about it. The fact is that you need to identify, I feel, how can you make this business different from a digitalization perspective. I am of the opinion that, eventually everything will be done online, because it becomes easier to do. Now, if you, let me just, think out aloud and say you've got a dealership in a prime location. Over a period of time, that location becomes too expensive to have a dealership. The dealership moves out. Who's going to travel there? So then it all becomes digital. And we've seen that happen in the consumer space, right? You've seen that happen with Amazon and, with all these companies where they've just sort of, everything just comes home to you. And I feel that everything can go that way. In fact, I read an article about a company in China that had a multi-story, almost like a vending machine. And you could go in there with cars, right? And you can go in there and punch in your details, and they calculated your car loan. And then automatically, you get a car and you drive out. So I'm just saying there's a lot of different ways and means of business models that you can innovate.
So I meant not only in the automotive distribution industry, but also in your industry, auto part manufacturing. If I have to venture into that, how can I?
Look, there is, I don't know, in terms of manufacturing, you could look at 3D printing. 3D printing will play a role for different parts, right? I don't feel that parts where you need a lot of strength, because it's one directional when you look at 3D printing, as opposed to multi-directional when you look at like a forging, for example. But there's a lot of opportunity in terms of new products which are not your traditional products. So connectivity, telematics, that whole ADAS space, right? And you have autonomous driving from level 1 to 5. If you look at level 1, 2, and 3, it's easily achievable. Level 4 is achievable. Level 5 is when you driverless. But again, for us, we got into the sensor space because that's our play in the autonomous space. So that's a brand new business for us. So there's definitely opportunities for you as well to look at businesses like that. The other business that we just talked about is data analytics. I think there's a huge opportunity in the automotive space to look at data analytics. So I hope that gives you some good business ideas.
Thanks.
So apart from, I have a question in mind. So how is dealing with Indian OEMs and foreign global OEMs, how is it different apart from higher margins? So, and is it, do they help educate the manufacturer as well if they want to scale them as well?
Yeah. So I feel that in India, the relationships are symbiotic, they're not transactional. And we've had some great experience with dealing with Indian OEMs. I mean, if you look at, Mahindra, you look at Tata, if you consider Maruti an Indian OEM to some extent, it's been a great journey for us as an Indian auto component industry because, we started our lives when Maruti started their life, with joint ventures, of course. However, I remember an incident where, I went to, we went to an OEM and we said we had a problem with a part. And they helped us develop that part, helped us develop capabilities, helped us develop the supply chain as well. So, it's been a great journey because it's a newer journey than what's happened, in the West and the East. However, I feel that when you're in a relationship with an OEM, the relationship over time develops because you become a critical part of their supply chain. And it's pretty, I would say it's similar, in nature across the globe. It's just that our experience in India has been different because we started our journey with them. If you look at Mahindra, I think it was in the mid-90s when they designed the Scorpio, where we all were given opportunity to design as opposed to build to print. So that gave us an entry into a different kind of automotive industry. And from there, we've grown and we're grateful for the opportunities we got because this is where we started our life. But again, from an OEM perspective, if you look at, globally as well, the relationships are strong. We continue to sort of spend a lot of time with the OEMs because we're doing a lot of, work with them, we're designing with them, and we're helping them in their growth, and they're helping us in our growth. So it's a good, strong relationship.
So Sanjay, I've been following you on Twitter for quite some time now. So you mentioned that you're quite passionate about the sport polo, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the game of polo, you're chasing the line of the ball, and you have to anticipate in advance, right? Like you have to position yourself accordingly based on where the ball is going. Do you see yourself doing this on a daily basis within your personal as well as like business kind of view when you're taking decisions for your Sona Comstar?
So first, let me tell you that not even many spectators who come to watch know this much about polo. So it's great that you've actually studied the line of the ball and the anticipation part of it. I love sports, and I started playing polo very late in life, in my 30s. But I'll play any sport that, you give me to play or let me play. But so I think polo is, it's a team sport. And you're absolutely right in terms of anticipation because it's not what the guy with the ball is doing, but what are the other 7 players doing on the ground. We have 8 players on a ground and one person has the ball. What are the other 7 players doing is what's important. And therefore that teaches you, to be aware of what is going to happen next, and anticipation is very important in business as well. The other thing that sport in general teaches you is that it's okay to lose. You can lose and then you can come back and you can win. And further to that, what it does teach you is that it's not, you don't win immediately. It takes a long time, and you got to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again to see great results. Things don't happen overnight, and that's something that polo has taught me, because I've been playing for years, and we don't always win, but we don't lose faith. It doesn't mean that we've lost it all. It's been a bad year. Every year, we're improving a little bit, and it's been a great education for me. Just from being in sport and playing that sport, because polo is one of the sports that's played pro-am, which you got professionals and amateurs. And I've been playing competitive polo for years, and it's been a great learning.
Just to wind up things here, I'd like to know your final thoughts on what is the next big thing in this industry, and what is the next big milestone for Sona Comstar?
So I think, in the industry, it's definitely, we're going to keep focusing on EV, and I feel that the industry is going to see more disruption in terms of, again, and I keep going back to, the R&D piece, in terms of software, in terms of, completely different solutions, even in terms of shared mobility. So you need to look at it from an overall perspective. We have a tagline called EPIC, which is electric, personalized, intelligent, and connected. And that's something that at Sona we'll keep looking at technology as a key driver for our growth.
Can you, like you mentioned, you had very nice financial tools from Blackstone. So how do you assess a company's valuation? For example, you're going in a merger with a company, or you're going in an acquisition with a company. So what is the general multiple on the EBITDA that a company deserves when you go into a merger or an acquisition with them?
So that's a very difficult question for me to answer, because there isn't a multiple that we will go with. It depends on the business. It depends on whether it's a strategic play for us. It depends on what the technology is. And there are multiple things that we will look at. Of course, we are very, very focused on the fact that the business should have a good technology, it should have growth, and it should be profitable. These are three things that we definitely will look for. When we look at an acquisition. But again, EBITDA multiples are, it's very difficult to define. It's very dependent on, on the given situation, on the requirement that we have for the business, on the business's requirement, etc. So it's.
Like to end by taking some motivational advice from you. So at Masters Union, we have a motto of learning business by doing business. So wanted your advice for young entrepreneurs like us who are trying to start out in the manufacturing space. How do you, what initial steps should someone take even they want to start a business in the manufacturing space?
So I think, again, you need to look for a technology. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have something that's cutting edge when it comes to technology. When you look at manufacturing, it's not just, those days are gone where you're literally doing contract manufacturing, where someone gives you a design and you sit and manufacture it, because you've got no competitive advantage. To build competitive advantage, you need to look at tech. So, I would say that if you were to find a technology that you feel can be manufactured, can be productionized as well, and often we see, a lot of, and I'll tell you what's really done well, around the world is the startups. However, the startups come with the challenge of, can we productionize or not the product? So I think technology is a key driver, and just, you got to work really hard. Nothing comes easy.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the session, Sanjay. I think we got really good insights about the space, and we are indebted to you for your time for this session.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.